The family group chat lights up while I am lying on my bed. Mom drops the Christmas dinner details, the time, the place, the dress color. Everyone starts replying with heart emojis and silly jokes. Then she types one more message. She writes that I am not invited this year because I am too dramatic. She says it like a joke, but there is a sharp edge in it. The whole family can see it. My face burns as I stare at the screen. I type back a calm reply, asking what she means. Before I can even hit send, Dad reacts with a smug little emoji. It is the one he uses when he thinks he is right about something. I send my message anyway, trying to stay cool. Then my younger brother, Liam, reacts with laughing emojis. He adds, "This has been a long time coming." My chest tightens. That is when it hits me. They talked about this before the message ever went out. This was not a joke. It was a plan. My hands shake as I hit Dad's number and press call. He picks up on the second ring like he has been waiting. Before I speak, he sighs and says, "Please do not start." I ask why I am suddenly banned from Christmas. He says I always ruin holidays and this year is for everyone's peace. He was brought up last year at once. He retells the argument in his own way, like a story he practiced. In his version, I yelled for no reason and made Mom cry. He leaves out that she called me broken first. I tell him that is not how it happened. He says I remember things to suit my feelings. Then he says something that cuts deeper than everything else. He says, "Even Grandpa agrees this is for the best." The line hits me like ice water. Grandpa is the one person who has always listened to me. If he thinks I am too dramatic too, then maybe I really am. When the call ends, I feel smaller than I have in years. I grab my keys before I can overthink it and head for the door. The winter air bites my cheeks as I hurry to my car. I drove straight to Grandpa's small brick house on the corner street. Christmas lights blink softly around his porch railing. When he opens the door, he looks surprised and happy to see me. I step inside and blur out the whole story in one long breath. He listens without interrupting, his eyes kind but serious. When I say Dad told me he agreed with the ban, his brows shoot up. He says, "That is news to me. No one asked me anything about Christmas dinner this year." He adds that he has actually been left out of the planning too. He guides me to the couch and tells me to breathe slowly. After a long pause he says, "There is more going on than you know." His voice gets quiet, like he is talking to himself as well as to me. He pats my hand and says he will handle it. His words calm me, but his eyes look worried. Later that evening, my phone buzzes while I sit at Grandpa's kitchen table. It is my Aunt Rosa calling, the one who always tries to stay neutral. Her voice is almost a whisper when I answer. She asks if I am with Grandpa. When I say yes, she tells me not to make a scene this year. She says my parents want Christmas clean and simple and calm. The way she says clean makes my skin crawl. I ask if this is really about me being dramatic. There is a pause on the line. She says the real problem is something else. She hints about a paper, a document, that my parents are very worried about. My heart thumps harder. I ask what document she means. She inhales sharply like she is about to explain everything. Then she says softly, "I think someone is coming. I should go." Before I can stop her, the call ends. I stare at my phone, feeling like I just touched the edge of a secret. The next morning, Grandpa goes out to buy bread, and I stay behind. I sit at his old desktop computer and open the shared family email folder. He has never been good with passwords, so most things stay logged in. I scroll through recent messages, looking for anything about Christmas. Then one subject line jumps out at me. It says, "Updating my will, I need a neutral witness." It is from Grandpa, sent 3 weeks ago. The email is addressed to Aunt Rosa, my parents, and my uncle. I read it twice. He explains that he wants things written clearly while he is still strong. He asks for a witness who is not directly tied to money decisions. The first reply is from Mom. Her words sound sweet and supportive, thanking him for being thoughtful. But it does not sound like her real voice. There is too much sugar, too many polite phrases she never uses at home. I feel a chill run down my arms. This is not just about my feelings. This is about money, control, and who gets to stand beside Grandpa. I tell Grandpa I will not push about dinner and will stay out of the way. He nods but looks like he does not fully believe me. We decided to go to Christmas Eve service together at our old church. I hope the calm music will settle my heart. We arrive early and sit near the middle pew. Soft carols float around us while candles flicker near the altar. Then I see her. Mom walks in wearing a dark green dress and a bright, perfect smile. She goes straight to Grandpa and wraps him in a long, dramatic hug. People nearby turn and smile at them. She talks loud about how blessed she is to have him. It feels like a performance. When she finally notices me on his other side, her smile flickers. For half a second, her eyes harden, sharp and cold. Then she covers it with another bright grin and says, "Oh, you came." I feel like I have stepped into a show where everyone knows their lines but me. After the service ends, people crowd the aisle to shake hands and chat. Grandpa gets pulled aside by an old friend, leaving me near the coat rack. Dad appears out of nowhere, blocking my way to the door. His face is tight, but his voice is smooth. He says, "If you come to dinner tomorrow, you will embarrass Grandpa." He frames it like he is protecting him from me. He says Grandpa is too old for stress, and I am a storm. I tell him I just want to be with the family. He shakes his head and says, "This is not about you." Then he leans closer and lowers his voice. He says, "We cannot let you hear the question." The words are strange and heavy. I ask what question he means. He only presses his lips together and walks away. As he leaves, I see him pull out his phone and call someone. I only catch a few words, but it sounds like planning, not worry. That night, sleep will not come. I lie in Grandpa's guest room and stare at the ceiling. Dad's words loop in my mind like a broken song. We cannot let you hear the question. What question could be so dangerous that I must be banned from dinner? I pick up my phone and text Liam. I ask him, just once, to be honest with me. After a while, he sends a voice note instead of words. His voice is bored and tired. He says I should accept my role and stop fighting the family story. He calls it the narrative. He says every family has one. Then he laughs and says, "You know you were never supposed to be the favorite." Something in his voice sounds like he believes it. Like it has been told to him again and again. I realize the narrative he is talking about has been built for years, and I have been stuck in the same part the whole time. On Christmas morning, my phone rings before the sun is fully up. I fumble for it and see Grandpa's name on the screen. His voice carries a mix of warmth and steel. He says he would like me to come with him to Christmas dinner after all. He says he wants peace this year, but on his own terms. I tell him I do not want to make things worse. He replies that hiding truth only makes poison stronger. The words sit heavy, but they also give me courage. When I arrive at his house, he is already dressed in his best sweater. On the dining table beside his keys, I see a sealed envelope. My name is written on the front along with my parents and Liam. He notices me looking and says, "That is for later." His tone is calm, but his eyes are firm. We share a silent breakfast of toast and eggs. I can feel something big moving under the surface of this day. The drive to my parents' house feels longer than it is. Snow piles along the sides of the road, bright and cold. When we walk up to the front door together, Grandpa knocks loudly. Mom opens it with a wide, surprised smile that almost fools me. Almost. Her eyes darted from him to me, and her smile tightened for a second. She says, "Oh good, you both made it, like the ban never happened." Inside, the house smells like turkey and cinnamon and something fried. Christmas music plays softly in the background. Dad stands near the fireplace, his jaw clenched when he sees me. Liam sits on the couch scrolling his phone and refuses to look my way. Aunt Rosa is already there, her eyes wide as she takes in the scene. She gives me a small, secret nod. Mom talks loudly about last-minute changes, pretending everything is normal. But the air feels thick, like everyone is waiting for a script they forgot. We sat around the table that night, the good plates shining under the bright light. Grandpa sits at one end, Dad at the other like always. My seat is between Aunt Rosa and Liam. Mom moves around, pouring drinks and serving food with extra cheer. She laughs too loudly at small jokes. Again and again, she drops little comments about how sensitive I am. She says, "You know how she gets it," with a playful tone that is not playful. She brings up old stories where I cried or spoke up, twisting the details. Each time, she glances at Grandpa like she is trying to show him something. I take slow breaths and keep my answers short and calm. I do not argue. I do not defend myself. I just let the comments hang in the air. I can feel her growing more annoyed every time I refuse to react. The quieter I am, the more obvious her needling becomes to everyone else. After the main dishes are cleared, Mom heads to the kitchen for dessert. The rest of us stay at the table with our glasses and small talk. Then Grandpa clears his throat. The room settles instantly. He says he has one thing to do before dessert. He says he has one question, and he wants honest answers. He asks that no one interrupt anyone else. Dad and Mom exchange a quick glance, their faces tense. Liam shifts in his chair and finally looks up from his phone. Grandpa folds his hands on the table. His voice is calm, but there is a sharpness in it that I rarely hear. He looks around the circle of faces, taking his time. Something in me straightens. I realize this is the moment Dad did not want me to hear. The whole house feels quiet, like it is holding its breath with me. Grandpa finally speaks his question. He says, "Who told you she was the reason our family fractured last year?" The words land in the middle of the table like a stone. For a second, no one moves. Mom opens her mouth, then closes it. Dad clears his throat and says my name like it is obvious. He adds that I blew up and ruined everything. Grandpa raises his hand sharply and stops him. He says, "I did not ask who you think is to blame. I asked who told you that story." The room grows even quieter. Dad's face loses some of its color. He stumbles over his words and finally admits he heard it from Mom first. Mom flushes and snaps that she only said it to protect the family. Grandpa turns his gaze to Liam. Liam looks down and mutters that he repeated it because it made him look easy. The air changes from forced cheer to something raw and exposed. Grandpa does not raise his voice. He simply lets the silence sit there, thick and heavy. Then he asks Dad why he believed one version without ever asking anyone else. Dad stares at the tablecloth and says he trusted his wife. Mom presses her lips together and says she had to take control. She claims I was out of line and someone had to be the adult. Aunt Rosa shakes her head slightly, like she is finally done staying quiet. She says she remembers last year differently. She reminds them that Mom had already been drinking and kept poking at me. She says I only raised my voice after being pushed and mocked for an hour. Liam swallows hard and admits he liked being seen as the simple, good one. He says joining in made things easier for him. Hearing him say that feels like someone has opened a window in a dark room. For the first time, the story I have been trapped in begins to crack. Grandpa lets out a long, slow breath, then asks a second question. His voice is softer now, but heavier somehow. He asks, "And who told you she tried to use me for money?" My heart drops. I did not know that lie even existed. Mom freezes, her fork halfway to her mouth. Dad looks straight at her. Liam frowns like he is trying to remember where he heard that. Aunt Rosa whispers, I heard that too, but I did not believe it. Grandpa turns his gaze to Mom and waits. Her eyes dart around like she is searching for an exit. She finally says she only warned people I might pressure him later. Her words come out thin and shaky. I stare at her, shocked. All this time I thought Grandpa had simply grown distant. Now I see someone has been feeding him poison in my name. My hands curl into fists under the table as I fight the urge to shout. Just then, the front door opens and closes with a soft thud. Aunt Rosa's older sister, Aunt Mia, rushes in, apologizing for being late. She shrugs off her coat and joins us at the table, cheeks pink from the cold. She asks what she missed. Grandpa tells her we are having an honest talk. Mom says sharply that we are done with that. Aunt Mia glances at the tense faces and says, Is this about the rumor chat? Everyone freezes again. She explains that she saw messages in the extended family chat where Mom warned people. She says Mom told them I was unstable and might beg Grandpa for money. Mom snaps at her to stop talking in front of me. But now the lid is off. Aunt Rosa admits she got a private call from Mom too, preparing her. The room feels like it is tilting as more truth spills out. The story my parents built is finally being dragged into the light. Grandpa reaches for the sealed envelope on the side table and brings it back. He opens it slowly, the paper tearing loud in the quiet room. Inside is a printed summary of his updated will and trust plans. He spreads the pages on the table so everyone can see. He explains that he made changes because he saw love being used as a tool. He says he noticed that visits, phone calls, and friendly acts shifted. Whenever the topic of inheritance came up, Dad tries to laugh it off, saying everyone acts weird about money. Grandpa reads out a section that mentions consequences for manipulation. The words say anyone who uses lies or pressure to influence him can lose control. Mom's eyes widened at that. Her fingers start tapping the table. Grandpa says he did not want to believe his own children would do that, but he could not ignore what he saw and what he heard anymore. His gaze rests on Mom and Dad like a weight. Mom suddenly pushes back her chair and covers her face with her hands. Tears spill through her fingers as she begins to cry loudly. She says she only wanted stability for everyone. She calls me unpredictable and says I have always been unstable. Her words hang in the air like smoke. I feel something in me shift. I reach into my bag and pull out my phone. I open our old text threads and scroll to specific messages I saved. I read out a few lines where she baited me, calling me names and mocking me. Then I read her messages from the next day, blaming me for reacting. My voice stays calm and even. I do not raise it, even when my chest feels tight. The calmness makes the messages sound even worse. Dad looks uncomfortable. Liam looks stunned, like he never knew the full picture. Mom lowers her hands and stares at the texts, her crying quieter now. Grandpa turns to me and asks me to speak plainly. He says, "Tell us what you actually wanted from us all along." My mouth feels dry, but I force myself to answer. I say I wanted to be treated like a full person, not a problem to manage. I wanted someone to ask what I felt instead of telling me what I felt. I say I wanted accountability when people hurt me, not silent blame shifted my way. I wanted holidays where I did not walk on eggshells. I wanted the right to be sad or angry sometimes without being labeled dramatic. My voice shakes a little, but the words come from a deep place. Liam looks at me like he is seeing a stranger who has been beside him for years. Aunt Rosa wipes her eyes quietly. Even Aunt Mia has stopped fidgeting. For the first time, it feels like the real me is sitting at this table. Not the version they built in their stories. Dad straightens in his chair, trying to pull the attention back to himself. He says I am twisting things to win Grandpa's sympathy. He accuses me of using my feelings as a weapon. I feel heat rush to my face, but before I can answer, Grandpa speaks. He says the real drama here is not me expressing emotion. The real drama is adults scapegoating one child to protect their image. He says he has watched this pattern since I was small. Whenever there was a problem, blame slid toward me like water down a hill. He talks about times when my honest questions were called disrespect. He says he stayed silent too often, and he regrets it. Dad looks stunned that his own father is siding with me so clearly. Mom stares at the table, her jaw tight. Grandpa says quietly that he is done helping lies feel comfortable in this house. Grandpa clears his throat and looks around at all of us again. He says there is one more thing he needs to explain tonight. He points to a paragraph in the will summary and reads it out loud. It says that the small family trust he set up years ago will have new rules. He explains that he is moving its management to a neutral third party. No one at this table will control it alone anymore. Then he says my name. He explains that I will be a co-beneficiary with clear transparency rules. Every decision about that money will be recorded and viewable. Mom goes pale. For years she handled anything money-related for Grandpa. Now that private control is slipping from her hands. Dad looks like he just swallowed something bitter. Liam glances at me with wide eyes, clearly surprised I was included at all. I did not even know this trust existed until now. The twist feels unreal, but also strangely fair. Mom suggests they move to the kitchen to talk about this in private. Her voice is shaky but still trying to sound firm. Grandpa shakes his head. He says all the harm happened in the open or in whispered chats about me. So any repair must happen in the open too. He says hiding is exactly what brought us here. The dining room becomes something like a courtroom. There is no judge in a robe, only an old man finally standing tall. No one is shouting now. The weapons are truth, memory, and evidence. Aunt Rosa admits she stayed quiet too long because she hated conflict. Aunt Mia says she laughed at some jokes about me and wishes she had not. The weight of their words falls mostly on my parents. They seem smaller than they did at the start of the night. For once, I do not feel like the messy one in the room. Liam has been silent for a long time. Now he speaks up, his voice rough. He says he needs to say something before Grandpa finishes. He looks at me and his eyes are wet. He admits he liked being the easy child, the one who never pushed back. He says it felt good when Mom and Dad praised him for not being like me. So he joined in the jokes and the stories, even when they felt wrong. He says he is sorry for laughing at that group chat message. He is sorry for calling me dramatic just to make himself feel safe. His words land in my chest like something warm and painful at the same time. It is the first real apology I have ever heard from him. For a moment, the tightness in the room eases. I tell him I appreciate him saying it. The tiny bridge between us feels thin but real. Grandpa leans back, looking tired but settled. He says this is not about punishing anyone forever. He says it is about rebuilding a family that can survive honesty. He tells my parents there is a path forward if they want it. It includes therapy, better boundaries, and no more secret story building about me. He says he will support that work if they truly choose it. Mom stares at her hands, twisting her napkin. Dad looks like he is standing at a crossroads only he can see. Their pride hangs in the air like a thick cloud. Aunt Rosa nods and says she will help however she can. Aunt Mia agrees that things cannot go back to how they were. I sit there quietly, knowing I cannot control what my parents will choose. What I can control is what I accept from now on. The thought scares me and frees me at the same time. The plates are mostly empty, and the candles burn low. Grandpa looks around the table one last time. He says he has a final question before everyone goes home. His voice is gentle but leaves no room to hide. He asks my parents, "Do you want a daughter who performs for you? Or a daughter who is real with you?" The room goes completely still. Mom's eyes shine with fresh tears. Dad's jaw works like he is chewing on words he cannot swallow. They do not answer. The The silence is its own kind of reply. I feel something inside me settle. For the first time, I realize my life does not have to wait on their choice. I stand, thank Grandpa for inviting me, and gather my things. As I step out into the cold night air, the sky above is dark and wide. For the first time, the next chapter of my life feels like mine to write.